Hari Om. Suvarna Bhagini, you can start chanting.
Namaskaram.
Namaskar. You can start.
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वीलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेबीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। नमो नमः।
Hari Om. धन्यवादः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमतस्य शिष्यम् श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमतस्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यम् तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरुन् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So in these verses, beginning from verse number 51 up to verse number 55, Lord Krishna is talking about Nididhyasana, otherwise called Vedantic meditation, which is the final phase of this spiritual journey. You may recall that in chapter 12 on Bhakti Yoga, we have seen that spiritual journey can be divided into several stages or phases, and basically from one angle, right? In 12th chapter, we looked at it from one angle and based on bhakti, and it was divided into 5 stages, right? And subsequently, in the 13th chapter, we also discussed, right, how to remove one obstacle or the other so that the attainment of moksha is possible, right? So the first stage which we saw is karma yoga, in which I learned to contribute to the society and also learn to manage my ragadvesha, which are responsible for all our emotional reactions. So contribute and manage the ragadvesha, likes and dislikes. Thus ragadvesha gets diluted through karma yoga, right? But one thing we must remember is that there is a difference in karma yoga itself. We saw this in great detail in chapter 12. Please go back and revise the class 1 of chapter 12. There is a sakama karma pradhana karma yoga and a nishkama karma pradhana karma yoga. So sakama means asking for one's own family's benefits, professional growth, money, avahanti homam, and those kind, right? Or one's own body mind related. We are not talking about that here. So as a person commences the journey, he will have sakama orientation. Once he gets exposed to Gita, right, teaching, he becomes a nishkama karma pradhana karma yogi, right? And karma yogena mala nivritti, when we say that, it is referring to nishkama karma pradhana karma yoga. Okay, so that is the first stage. We are now actually bringing together all the concepts and starting to connect, because we are in the 18th chapter. You must be able to freely navigate now. If it is not happening in the first round, second or third round, when you start listening to Gita, the dots will all start connecting. Don't get worried that you're forgetting what you learned earlier, or nothing of that sort. You will start connecting everything. So karma yogena mala nivritti has to be connected to nishkama karma pradhana karma yoga. Then in the next stage, we talked about upasana yoga, in which we practice meditation on Ishvara, right, in one form or other. Saguna Ishvara Dhyanam, right? Ishtadevata Upasana as a first stage, and Vishwarupa Dhyana Rupa Upasana we saw. Both of these we saw in the 12th chapter, right? So the practice of this meditation, including even the practice of japa, repetition of any mantra, will help in developing the focusing capacity of the mind. So the restlessness of the mind and preoccupations of the mind, which are known as vikshepa, this vikshepa gets diluted. So distractions and preoccupations of the mind, right? Remember, values are also important simultaneously during this stage, okay? So Upasana Yoga is basically the second stage, which is comprising of both of these, right? Ishtadevata Dhyana Rupa Upasana Yoga and Vishwarupa Dhyana Rupa Upasana Yoga. Both those put together results in Vikshepa Nivrittihi, right? So Upasana Yoga is the stage which removes the Vikshepa Upasana Yogena Vikshepa Nivrittihi, which is a resulting in mental refinement. Put another way, Sadhana Chatushtaya Praptihi of Introduction to Vedanta or what Tattva Bodha if we see one day. So that is Sadhana Chatushtaya Praptihi. Vivekaha, Vairagyam, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi and Mumukshutvam, right? So desire for moksha. So thereafter we talk about, after this stage, right? We talk about Shravana Yoga. So remember that these 4 steps that we saw in chapter 12 are all for Karma Yogena Mala Nivrittihi. What is Malam? Ragadvesha Nivrittihi, Ahankara Mamakara dilution, Upasana Yogena Vikshepa Nivrittihi, and then what happens? Then we talk about Shravana Yoga, the sadhana of consistent and systematic study of the Vedantic scriptures for a length of time under the guidance of a competent acharya. Through scriptures alone, I come to know that I am not the body, mind or sense organs, but I am the Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is my real and higher nature. Therefore, Shravana Yogena Ajnana Nivrittihi, removal of self-ignorance. What kind of ignorance? Assuming that I am the body, mind, sense organs. That first exposure to this teaching itself happens only through Gita exposure, Upanishad exposure, etc. So Shravana Yogena Ajnana Nivritti. Then the 4th stage we talked about Manana. Manana Yogena, what happens? The intellect, you start having doubts. I don't have the conviction. Right? Okay, Vedanta is saying this, Guru is saying this, looks like there is something in this, but then I have a doubt here. Is this logically connecting, etc. But I have Shraddha. Shraddha or faith, very wrong translation, better to use Shraddha. Shraddha in the scriptures is there, but you have some gaps in the mind in understanding, right? So the doubtful knowledge is as good as ignorance, right? So therefore, all the doubts must be removed by raising questions. Why don't I accept the teaching? You keep asking and the Guru keeps clarifying, right? And in fact, it is the Guru's responsibility to help the student in getting the conviction, right? Thus, Mananam is a process of removing all the doubts with regard to the teaching. Therefore, we say, Mananena Samshaya Nivrittihi, removing doubts, right? So Samshaya Nivrittihi. Thus, in each stage, we are only shedding the obstacles and we are not getting anything new. Thus, Mala Nivritti, Vikshepa Nivritti, Ajnana Nivritti, Samshaya Nivritti. Nivritti means removal. Final stage is called Nididhyasanam or Vedantic meditation. In the second stage also we have meditation. This is also meditation. Right? This is also meditation. Remember this, right? This is also meditation, but there's a difference. This is Saguna Rupa Ishvara or Vishwarupa Ishvara. Both of them are Saguna Rupa, right? So that is Ishvara Dhyanam. Nididhyasanam, which is written here, Nirguna Ishvara Vichara, which is written here, is Atma Jnanam, right? You must remember, So now we are talking about Atma Jnanam. Nididhyasanam is Atma Jnanam. To use the language of Pujya Swami Dayananda Swamiji, Vedantic meditation is a meditation on the meditator. Meditation on the meditator. But this will work, this will be meaningful only if a person has gone through the first 4 stages and he has been convinced about the fundamental Vedantic message, which we present as the 5 capsules of Vedanta. 5 capsules, not 5 features of consciousness, right? So I'm now connecting everything that we have studied in Introduction to Vedanta, right? Ultimately, we should have now gained some amount of depth in understanding that, right? So, capsule number 1, I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness principle. Number 2, I am the source, I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness, right? Each of these points I should not just say, I should have the conviction. Otherwise, Nididhyasanam is useless, right? So if I'm not convinced, I have to go back to Shravanam, Mananam, as the case may be. Nididhyasanam is meaningful only after conviction, right? So Nididhyasanam is for internalization of the teaching, right? Exactly like the pickle, no? It has to remain in the liquid for some length of time so that the juice goes in, right? Kind of a gross example, but it's really very helpful. Exactly like a rasagulla, right? The syrup has to soak in completely, right? So internalization alone is to be accomplished, and therefore conviction has to be there. Therefore, each capsule of Vedanta must be a point of conviction. So second capsule is, I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. The third capsule is, by my mere presence, I give life to this material body, and through the material body, I experience the material universe. So this is what we say in the Deeparadhana mantra. Natatra suryo bhatina chandra tarakam, right? So there we say, Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So this is the third capsule. And the fourth capsule is, I am never affected by any event that happens in the material universe or the material body. Then comes the fifth and the most important capsule. By forgetting my real nature, I convert life into a burden. By remembering my real nature, I convert life to a blessing. So these 5 capsules I have to assimilate, and the process of assimilation is called Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasanam. Atma Dhyanam, Brahma Dhyanam, Soham Dhyanam, Aham Brahmasmi Dhyanam, Aveda Dhyanam. All of these are different Sanskrit words for Vedantic meditation. The Vedantic meditation has been talked about in the 6th chapter of the Gita very elaborately, where we talked about what all? We talked about Bahiranga Sadhana, Antaranga Sadhana, Dhyana Swarupam, Dhyana Phalam, Dhyana Pratibandha Parihara. All these we covered exhaustively in the 6th chapter, right? So Lord Krishna wants to condense the teaching of the 6th chapter into these 5 verses. They are the main teachings of the 6th chapter. Okay. So because I have the advantage of technology, I just decided to pull that one slide from chapter 6, the summary part. I just took out the slide so that you can quickly take a look at it, right? So to summarize the main points, Krishna talked about the various stages of meditation, in which we talked about Desha, Kala, Asana, Sharira Sthiti, Prana Sthiti, Indriya Sthiti, Manasthiti, and Buddhi Sthiti. It may be intimidating, but it is very simple. Desha, Kala, and Asana. First, we should design our lifestyle in such a way that we do have some time. The fundamental issue is what? No time. Therefore, Krishna says, you redesign your lifestyle in such a way that you can give quality time for Vedantic meditation. Krishna says, Nityam, not every month, every year, whenever you feel like, but regularly. Then Krishna talked about choosing a place which is relatively free from external disturbances and distractions. So choose the time, choose the place, and choose the asana. May you be seated on an appropriate and comfortable asana, which is neither too hard nor too soft. So these are all external preparations. Thereafter, preparation with regard to our own different layers of personality. The first being the physical body itself, Sharira Sthitihi, right? So visualize the entire part of the body and make sure that the entire body is relaxed, especially every joint of the body is relaxed. Thereafter, the sense organs are withdrawn from the external areas so that the external world does not cause distraction. So Sharira Sthiti, Indriya Sthiti, sense organs, or Indriya Nigraha. The third one is Prana Sthiti. Lord Krishna says, make sure that your breathing is slow and smooth. Pranapano samokritva nasabhyantara charino. Because mental condition and breathing are interrelated. Therefore, when breathing is slowed, automatically the body and the mind start relaxing. So prana, breathing, is also smoothened and relaxed. So body, sense organs, breathing. Then the fourth level is the mind, toughest. So the mind has to, it might have a lot of emotional issues, etc. But through karma yoga and upasana yoga, if we have handled the mind, which is what we would have done in our japa, parayana, etc., right? By constantly bringing back the mind when you're doing japam, parayanam. That will help you here in saying no. When thoughts enter the mind, you can actually say no and push back. And this is just from my practical experience. I'm telling you, some days it can be very difficult because in grihastha you do have to face lot of, in interferences or interfaces with others. It can happen. No, let us not be over critical of ourselves. Suppose we have decided that 10 to 15 minutes we are going to do this, meditation, and you have that disturbance. Just tell your mind gently. The more stronger you fight with your mind, it will come back even worse. So just tell, no, this is not the time. I'll give you time after 10 minutes. Automatically the thoughts will subside. Do a little extra pranayama and you can come back to it, right? So, but don't give up, because I think this practice of doing this every day actually helps, right? And slowly you get better at it. And from 10 minutes, you can go to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You can do morning and evening, etc. Right? So hopefully Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga have already helped us get to this stage, right? Because the person has practiced Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shamaha, Damaha, Uparamaha, etc. Right? Titiksha. So the capacity to regulate the mind, or the capacity to replace the involuntary thoughts, right? Voluntary thoughts you won't have because you're disciplined anyway, right? So the mind is continuously generating these thoughts. So you just say no, right? Exactly like you take care of your pet, right? So you just take care that way and tell no and be gentle. So when I decide to practice meditation, I should have the power to command my mind, right? So through sadhana chatushtaya sampatti we get this, right? So, and then you, after the regulation of the mind, withdrawal of the mind from the external world, mamakara, ahankara, etc., you dilute. For this, it is very useful to remember Nirvana Shatkam is very famous. You can use Brahmanuchintanam, you can use Swamiji's meditation verses of Viveka Chudamani, anything you can use, whatever interests you. Anything between 10 and 20 minutes, depending on how much time you are able to spend. Initially, it may be 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, Nirvana Shatkam is very useful, because by the time you do your relaxation, your breathing, and then you shut out all these thoughts, and then you come to this, it is just sufficient time, right? So mano buddhya hankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihvena chagrana netre. So here it is not enough if I just, just chant and go. That's not the purpose. You get by heart, and as you're mentally chanting, remember the meaning, right? And I have to withdraw from all of them, right? And it's a very, very methodical way of withdrawing from all of them. Shanai Shanai Uparame. That's what Gita said, right? gradually withdraw the world, right? Saying withdraw from the world, saying, and it's an object, body is an object, mind is an object, sense organs are objects. They're all made up of matter, subject to change. Not only that, they are available in the waking state. The moment I go to dream, the dream, there is no, waker's body or sense organs or the world, right? They're all subject to appearance and disappearance. I am the Sakshi Chaitanyam who witnesses the arrival and departure of the world, right? And my mind disappears in Sushupti Avastha, right? So, whatever I have learned in Shravanam, right? Reviving the Shravanam is Nididhyasana. Ability to bring back the entire teachings automatically, withoutly, effortlessly. That is Nididhyasana. Okay. So in Shravanam, the assistance of the Guru is there. In Nididhyasanam, there is no Guru, right? You have to do it yourself and recollect the points. Then finally comes Buddhisthitihi, that is the position of the intellect, right? And the intellect has to remember the nature of myself, these 5 capsules remembering. Then Aham Atma, Atma Swarupaha, Shuddhaha, right? Nitya Swarupaha, Ananda Swarupaha, Amrita Swarupaha, Akhanda Swarupaha, Aprameyaha, Sarvagataha, Swarupaha. All of this, right? You just bring them, right? And initially, I remember the teaching, and suddenly the mind, like an uncontrollable baby runs out. Again, we have to break, right? And then say, Krishna said in the 6th chapter, Yato Yato Nischarati Manaschanchala Astiram Tatastato Niyamyetat Atmanyeva Vasham Nayet. Bring it back, right? Right? Drag and dwell on the higher nature. So this is called Buddhisthitihi. So these are the steps of the meditation. The more we practice, I will be able to abide in my real nature, and the worldly personality, both of that I'm able to treat as a temporary Vesha, whether it is the world or my worldly personality. And the Vedantic, so I abide in my Vedantic personality, and rest of it is Vesham. I put on, right? Every time I interact with the Jagrat Prapancha, I put on this Vesha, exactly like the story of the barber that we saw yesterday, right? So he can put on an emperor Vesham, but inside he is different, right? Similarly, it should not be a Vesham. Vedanta should not be a Vesham. Vedanta should be myself. This is called internalization. The advantage of this internalization, assimilatory meditation, right, is that this one single thing in the mind is directly responsible for my, I would say, responses to day-to-day life rather than reactions. Because there will be provoking situations for my reactions. During those provoking situations, am I able to quickly bounce back, right? Sometimes I may be disturbed, but how soon am I able to come back? So from when I lose my balance and I'm disturbed and I say, what? How soon am I able to say, so what? Right? The gap has to start coming down. So the internalization process becomes more and more successful with Nididhyasanam, repeated Nididhyasanam. This is called Jnana Nishta. So Nididhyasanam is not meant for Jnanam. Shravanam and Mananam are meant for Jnanam. Nididhyasanam is for converting Jnanam into Jnana Nishta. Right? So Prajna into Sthira Prajna, and I can derive the benefit of this throughout my life. This is the gist of Vedantic meditation. Right? And here in these 5 verses, Lord Krishna, he does not give the steps in a sequential order. It is jumbled all over. We have to intellectually rearrange this. Anyway, we have seen this in the 6th chapter. So Krishna takes this, path of going across all of them, but he completes he does a summary of this Dhyana Yoga itself, right? Or Vedantic meditation. Now let's look at the shloka, which, yeah, we had, I think, we had done this in the last class. Anyway, we can read it once again. Yeah. Buddhya vishuddhaya yuktaha dhrityatmanam niyamya cha Shabdadin Vishayan Tyaktva Ragadveshau Vyudasya Cha. So, Buddhya Vishuddhya Yuktaha. We actually saw this, we had almost completed. So, Vishuddha Buddhi here means clear intellect representing clear knowledge, right? So, the first 4 steps, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Shravana Yoga, Manana Yoga. Through these 4 steps, I have conviction with regard to the 5 capsules. And that is Dritya Atmanam Niyamyacha. By the willpower, I learned to withhold my personality. The extrovert personality is turned inward. Avrita Chakshuhu Amrutatva Ichan. Turning inwards by willpower. Here the word Atma means body, mind, sense complex, which is no more extrovert. Therefore, Shabdadin Vishayan Tyaktva. Totally dying to the external world because of absorption. This absorption is not unknown to us, right? We know of several times when this happens, like in a very interesting movie, right? You're so engrossed. But here we are talking of the absorption in the Brahman thought, right? By coming away from Shabdadi Vishayan, right? So it happens in even any matches and all, we are completely engrossed, right? So that is Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. But here we must remember that the same absorption this person is using for Atma Jnanam. Therefore, Tyaktva here means renouncing all the external world. It is only possible with Raga Dvesha Vyudasya Cha. As long as there is attachment or aversion, we will not be able to come to this stage. And how do we dilute that? By handing over to Vishwarupa Ishvara. Oh Lord, you are the owner of everything. I am only the user of everything, right? You can give anything to me at any time and take away anything from me at any time. So remembering the 11th chapter, I should learn to reduce Ragadvesha. Ragadvesho Vyudasya Cha, right? Continuing. Vivikta Sevi Lagvashi. Vivikta Sevi Lagvashi. Yatavvakaya Manasaha. Yatavvakaya Manasaha. Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam. Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam. Vairagyam Samupashritaha. Vairagyam Samupashritaha. I hope you're able to hear because somebody had complained that they couldn't hear. Now is it okay? Okay. Okay. Vivikta Sevi. May you take to a secluded place where distractions are lesser. Choose such a place. It may be a puja room itself or any room at home, right? So Shankaracharya talks about forest, caves, etc. Nowadays we don't have that, right? So screen disappeared. I hope everything is okay now. Anyway. So therefore choose any place, and absolute freedom from distraction is not possible, right? Even in the house, it's not possible. Even if you go to Badrinath, Rishikesh, Kailash, Mansarovar, it may not be possible, right? So therefore choose some relatively non-distracting place. This is one thing I would like to tell you that you must try and practice, because for many years I had this obstacle. It is a barrier in my mind, because somebody would ring the bell or somebody would come into the room, all this would happen, right? So then what happens? You give up the meditation itself. It's not required. We can, as the raga dvesha gets diluted, one gets used to, somehow finding that relatively quieter place and settling down and doing this, right? That is why it is preferable to do it in the early morning before, others can get a chance to actually disturb you, or your own mind gets engrossed in other activities, right? So Vivikta Sevi, in the 13th chapter, we saw this in the 11th verse. Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratir Jana Samsadi. Right? It was mentioned. The word means regularly taking to seclusion, because often we hold on to people for security, and ultimately Vedanta is finding security in one's own self. So holding on to any particular relationship is a very risky affair according to Vedanta, right? So we don't know what will be available at what time, right? Ultimately moving from world dependence to God dependence to self dependence is our journey. So how do we practice that? Learning to be alone for some time, learning to go for a walk alone. In fact, if you can even take a break for 2-3 days if it's possible, and go and stay quietly somewhere, right? Or you can be alone for some time, right? If no one is there, you don't have to feel that you are, lonely or anything. You can spend that time in bringing these teachings to our mind. In fact, because of this mobile, we have, got so used to at least picking up and speaking, or starting to see WhatsApp, right? It has become worse, right? So basically, as Swami Chinmayananda uses this term, learn to have an appointment with yourself. You give appointments to so many people, but learning to have an appointment with yourself. This is called Vivikta Sevitvam. Then Lagvashi. Make sure that the stomach is not overloaded. After a sumptuous lunch, if you sit, there is a problem for meditation. Normally itself, it's a problem. Now, after eating, the blood circulation is more in the stomach. So you will have a problem, and within 2 minutes, you will go to sleep, right? Therefore, choose a time when your mind is alert, and the Shastra gives that freedom, right? Even though generally they suggest the early morning, because yesterday's transactions are over and we have gone to sleep, and today's transactions have not started. So before opening your mobile or computer or television, practice meditation. So that's why Brahma Muhurta was suggested, right? So therefore, Lagu Ashi, not after a heavy lunch or heavy meal. Lagu means alpa, right? Less, right? Yatavak kaya manasaha, having restrained the vak, kaya and manaha, right? Kaya means body. Like in 6th chapter, we saw in the 13th verse, samam kaya shirogrivam darayan na chalam stiraha, right? We need to recollect, right? Swam, Krishna is recollecting everything for us. Make sure you sit in a comfortable posture, and if you can sit down, it is better. Otherwise, even a chair is okay. So kaya first, then vak, meaning the organ of speech, manasaha, the mind, right? Withdrawn from the external world. Next word is dhyana yoga paraha. We will see this in the last, okay? Because as I said, Krishna has switched some orders. Then vairagyam samupashritaha. Krishna repeatedly talks about detachment, and detachment must be understood properly. It does not mean lack of love and care. We have responsibility to the people around us. Therefore, giving love is one thing. Being attached to someone is quite another. In love, I give. In attachment, I take. Loving is giving support to others. Attachment is seeking support from others. We can love others and give them unconditional support, right? So, but what happens is when I generally want to support, right, especially a family member, right, then I feel like also I start leaning to take back something from them. So here you take support only from God, or during Nididhyasanam, it is not even God, but rely on the Atma. Right? Therefore, giving support is love, seeking support is attachment. Right? So during Upasana, I depend on God. During Nididhyasanam, I depend on myself. So therefore, Vairagyam means not depending on the world. Samupashritaha, right? So Vairagyam was already mentioned in the previous shloka also, but Krishna repeats it because it is very, very important, and it is also difficult, right? The word Dhyana Yoga Paraha we'll see at the end. Ahankaram balam darpam, ahankaram balam darpam, kamam krodham parigraham, kamam krodham parigraham, vimuchya nirmama shantaha, vimuchya nirmama shantaha, brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So all the emotional traits which can cause disturbances must be neutralized or handled. So what are those emotional traits which were called Asuri Sampat, right? In the 16th chapter. They are those mental traits which cause disturbance. Therefore, may you neutralize them. We should have done it even in the first 4 stages itself, right? So Krishna reminds us of that. If you don't do that, your mind will be disturbed. So what are some of the Asuric traits? Ahankara, ego or arrogance, right? Dehatma buddhihi, mistaking the body mind complex as myself. So even the arrogance that I have studied Gita, I have studied Upanishad, I have crossed 4 stages, I am in the 5th stage of spirituality, I am wonderful, I am great, that is also a problem. The very knowledge has to remove the ahankara, but the knowledge itself can become the cause of ahankara unless we are alert, right? In the Upanishads itself, we get a lot of stories. We are going to see them. In some of the Upanishads, we see that where the disciples have become, right? This ahankara has come in the arrogance, right? Therefore, humility is extremely important, right? Then balam means holding on to power, power in various areas, our working life, head of family, not letting go of the children, the next generation, right? And we want to still hold on, and they should, listen to us and abide by what we say only, right? All of that. So the power, that is balam. Then darpam means arrogance. Kamam, krodam, parigraham, right? Kama means desire for finite things, and the person has come to Vedanta only after understanding that all the worldly things are of no worth because they can't give me peace, security, and happiness, right? So only after discovering the limitation of the world, one has to come to Vedanta. So where is the question of those desires? Therefore, Kama, then Krodha, right? Both desire as well as anger, right? Both of them. Then finally, Parigraha, reduce the possessions also. Therefore, Sannyasa Ashrama is designed for dropping all the possessions. One may not become a sannyasi and renounce everything, but at least we can reduce the burden, travel light, make your journey a pleasure. Because the more I have, the more time and energy for maintaining them, right? So if you have extra clothes, right, then you have to manage them more. Maintenance becomes more, right? Anything for that matter. So yoga and shema go together. Yoga means acquisition, shema means maintenance. So much of our time and energy is wasted on this, right? So it will initially be required for karma yoga, right? Because I need time for serving the universe. But when we are at the 5th level of Vedantic meditation, we can practice port reduction, right? So reduce the parigraha, including clothes, right? So you can start reducing all of them as we take it to more and more to the Vedantic way of life, right? So that is why in sannyasa they have only the same orange color, right? That is the reason. You don't have to think, you need not plan, right? You don't have to plan what type of hairstyle you have. So you will be able to appreciate even the school uniforms we had. We never had to think in the morning, right? So therefore Krishna says, reduce the load. Parigraham vimuchya. May you get out of all of them. Nirmamaha in the first line, right? Ahankara, right? He said, here he says mamakara, right? So without mamakara and ahankara, both nirmamaha and ahankara, mamakara. Therefore, for transactional purposes, have both ahankara and mamakara, but get rid of it during the nididhyasana. Basically, we should remember this land, patta, everything, all of them belong to Bhagavan only, right? And this is just given to us for use during this period of our lifetime, right? So, and we are not going to take anything with us. So Krishna says, Shantaha. The immediate consequences, we can see the mind settling because I'm only a contributor. I'm not a controller of anything. I'm neither the owner of anything nor am I a controller of anything. I'm only a user and contributor, right? So we can, even this physical body, we can try and maintain it, and we can be, we can be focused on fitness, gym, food, discipline, etc. But it cannot be that you will have the same kind of health all the way up to 95, right? Let's take care, but let's not get obsessed, right? So this is called freedom from ownership and controllership. Once these two go away, the mind is relaxed, right? So anything that happens is according to law of karma, right? So this attitude makes the mind available for Vedantic meditation. All these are preparation for Vedantic meditation. Then comes Dhyana Yoga Paraha, which we left out in the previous shloka, right? We should now read it, right? After Shantaha, Nityam Dhyana Yoga Paraha Bhavet, right? Means, may you practice Vedantic meditation, dwelling on my nature as I have learned from the scriptures, right? So that is why we have many acharyas who have written beautiful shlokas. For that purpose only, I also put up Brahmanuchintanam, right? We can also use Vedantic. The Swamiji had given us 40 meditation verses. You can use that. You can use Nirvana Shatkam, as I said, right? But these shlokas are all beautiful shlokas for us to understand the meaning and dwell on them, right? Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham, and then it goes on, and Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. Right? This is called Dhyana Yoga Paratvam. Paratvam means commitment. It's not mechanical chanting, right? Many people think, it is for chanting, right? So they get it by heart. Getting by heart is one thing, but you must remember the meaning and dwell on it, right? So it is not a sentence, but it is a fact about myself. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham, right? And the other one, which is also very famous, is in the morning you invoke your higher self. Pratasmarami hridi samsurad atma tattvam satchit sukham paramahamsa gatim turiyam yat swapna jagara sushuptim avaiti nityam tad brahma nishkalam nacha bhuta sangaha aham tad brahma nishkalam nacha bhuta sangaha. So I am not the perishable bundle of flesh and blood. I am the imperishable Atma, which was, which is, and which ever will be. This soaking in this knowledge is called Nididhyasanam, right? I don't learn anything new. In Nididhyasanam, I just soak myself in this thought, right? Purastat, Paschat, Dakshinataha, all directions, Uttarataha. I am Ananda Atma. So Dhyana Yoga Paraha means invoking your higher nature of Chaitanya Swarupam, Aham, Shantoham, Shuddhoham, Ananta Swarupoham, right? So Krishna says Nityam, we have to practice this regularly, and then that rubs off, and during the day also it is constantly there as a Shruti. If you forget, then you again dwell on it for some time. So this is called Sahaja Samadhi. Therefore, Shantaha, enjoying the peace continuously, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. He becomes one with Brahman. One with Brahman means one with the infinite consciousness, which is all pervading, remembering the 5 features of consciousness that we saw yesterday, right? So Brahma Bhavaha, Jiva Brahma Aikyam Kalpate. That seeker will become fit for a long Nididhyasanam also, right? And he will be very fit and appropriate for the Brahma Chintanam. Now this is Vedantic meditation. Even though Krishna presents this Vedantic meditation, we should note who should practice Vedantic meditation should be decided by the seeker himself. Krishna does not say all people should practice Vedantic meditation. It all depends on where I am. I may be in Karma Yoga level, then this one is not relevant to me. I may be in Upasana Yoga level where I meditate upon Vishnu, Shiva, etc. Similarly, during Shravanam, right, this is not required. So this is not freely distributed to everybody. We have to ask the question, am I ready for the 5th stage? If I am not ready, nothing wrong in it. I can decide where I stand. and practice the sadhana that is relevant to me. Gita contains all the 5 levels of sadhana. We have to decide where we are and practice appropriately. Very important this is. Okay. So with this Jnana Yoga topic, Krishna is going to wind up. So in the next shloka, we have the Jnana Yoga Phalam. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Na Shochati Na Kankshati, Na Shochati Na Kankshati, Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Madbhaktim Labhate Param, Madbhaktim Labhate Param. So what is the practical benefit this jnani reaps as a result of this jnanam? Right? Remember that practical benefit. The more I claim my higher nature, my attachment to the physical body becomes weaker and weaker. Attachment to the body is a very big problem, because the more the attachment, more the insecurity, fear of old age, fear of disease, fear of death, all of which Swamiji uses an acronym called FEDERAL, right? Fear, depression, regrets in life, saying, oh, I should have done that, I should have done this, I didn't do it, and yell, standing alone, loneliness problems, right? So fear of all of these, right? When my attachment to the body is very strong. So the more I claim I am the higher nature, the Atma, the attachment to the body comes down, right? There is no speciality to this body. Every body will have to jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Something that is born has to grow old and go. It is a law of nature. I can never resist the law of nature. Greater the resistance, more intense is the worry. The more I detach, the more my mind is relaxed, right? And the bodies of the near and dear ones also, I have to practice detachment, right? So detachment from the body is reduction of ahankara. Vedantic ahankara. Ahankara is the dilution of this ahankara here, right? And then attachment to body or family members. It may be parents, it may be spouse, it may be brothers, sisters, right? Or it may be the house. I built this brick by brick, right? Therefore, attachment to these things are called mamakara. Greater the ahankara and mamakara, stronger the raga dvesha. Swamiji refers to this as dushta chatushtayam, right? So every time I'm worried what will happen to one of these people or these objects, right? So, and regularly we give commandments to God. Oh, God, please do this. Give me this. This is the work of Bhagavan, right? Therefore, I go on desperately praying instead of telling God, right? Thank you for whatever you have given, right? We keep on saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. So therefore, as even ahankara, mamakara, raga, dvesha gets diluted, we can measure this in the form of FIR reduction. Frequency, intensity, and recovery period after an emotional impact. Right? You must now remember and connect all of this. So FIR will come down, right? And this is Jnana Balam, right? And Jnana Phalam, right? This is a Balam that comes out of Jnanam. Therefore, Krishna says, Brahma Bhutaha, this Jnani who has become one with Brahman or Atma, right? By claiming I am the Atma, the benefit is Prasanna Atma. Generally, he is calm, disturbances are rare, right? Initially, disturbances are strongly expressed outward. Everybody suffers, right? And my disturbance, everybody becomes a victim. The whole family is disturbed, right? Then slowly I start handling myself. Therefore, Prasanna Atma, Shanta Swabhavaha, Na Shochati. That person does not have any deep regret regarding the past. As human beings with limited knowledge, we would have committed a lot of blunders. In fact, committing blunder is the human privilege. Animals will not do that because they are programmed. God can't, because God does not have the privilege, because he is omniscient and omnipotent. Even if he wants, he can't do anything wrong, right? So what God can't do, we can do, committing blunder, right? Only when we make sure, right, that We learn a lesson, and at least we should try and avoid repetition of those blunders. What is the use of looking back, right? I did this, or I did not do this, etc. Right? If we learn, it's fine, right? So no regret with regard to past, no anxieties with regard to the future. He is able to remain in the present and do whatever he or she has to do according to the designation. So if he is a Grihastha, then Grihastha Ashrama centered designation is there as a father, grandfather, mother, etc. Na shochati, no more grief. Na kankshati, he does not desperately crave also for anything, because Atma Jnanam gives total fulfillment, right? So there are no more binding desires, as Swamiji puts it. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu, with regard to the living beings around him, he doesn't have any strong raga or dvesha, right? And he knows everybody is different. My own family members, everyone will not be like me. Better understand that and move on, right? Even our own children, each child could be different, and we may have had great expectation, but first expectation, in fact, we might think that they should listen to Gita, they should, do Parayanam, Puja, etc. First thing is to dilute that expectation, right? Our duty is to bring them up, expose them in childhood. After that, it is nice to have expectations, but we should only treat it as a very mild form of expectation. It doesn't happen, fine. We move on, right? No strong raga dvesha. It is like Swamiji says, make it a preference. Don't have it as an expectation, right? It's a preference, right? So, sarveshu bhuteshu samaha means raga dvesha rahitaha, especially with regard to people with whom we have to live lifelong, right? And better we have samatvam. Not only that, this jnani becomes the greatest bhakta also. He becomes a jnani bhakta or advaita bhakta. Mad bhaktim labate param. He attains the greatest bhakti, which was discussed in, you might remember, in the 7th chapter of the Gita, where Krishna speaks about 4 types of bhaktas. Do you remember? Again, I pulled out that slide here. You can take a look at it. 7:16, Chaturvida bhajante ma, right? So we saw Jignasu, right? Artharthi, Jnani, Bhakti, etc. Right? So this is the Jnani Bhakta. So Artha Bhakta, who becomes a Bhakta whenever there is trouble, thereafter he forgets, called Artha. He's an Artha Bhakta. Then Artharthi Bhakta is one, when he starts a venture, he prays for success, right? Therefore, at that time, he will do the puja and then forget. That is Artharthi Bhakta. Third one is Jignasu Bhakta, the one who wants moksha and therefore worships the Lord for Ishvara Jnanam and Ishvara Praptihi, right? So all these 3 bhaktas are called demanding bhaktas. They don't go to God just for the sake of God, right? They always go with some motive or the other, right? They're all motivated bhaktis, demanding bhaktis. Whereas Jnani is the only bhakta, right, who goes, right, saying Aham Purnaha, right, Anandataya. He goes and he expresses gratitude to the Lord. Oh Lord, you have given me the knowledge by which I know your essential nature and my essential nature. Both are the same. I know that. Thank you. This bhakti is the greatest bhakti, Advaita bhakti. Bhagavan also is very happy to meet such a bhakta, because others keep on asking for something or the other, right? So Bhagavan has to be all the time alert, right? So this is the greatest bhakti, para bhakti. So the description of a para bhakta we saw in chapter 13, Adveshta sarva bhutana maitra karuna evacha. So in that Krishna said, this jnani bhakta is dearest to me, right? And he alone is closest to me, and he's one with me, right? Bhaktya mamabhijanati, bhaktya mamabhijanati, yavanyashchasmi tatvatah, yavanyashchasmi tatvatah, tato mam tatvato jnatva, tato mam tatvato jnatva, vishate tadanantaram, vishate tadanantaram. So This is the conclusion of Jnana Yoga Phalam in 54 and 55. Bhaktya, by practicing the Jnana Yoga level of Bhakti, because Karma Yoga is Bhakti Yoga level 1. Jnana Yoga is Bhakti Yoga level 2. So by practicing this Bhakti in the form of Nididhyasanam, Nididhyasa Rupa Bhaktya, a Bhakti in which he meditates upon God as non-different from the very Atma inside. Through this Nididhyasana Bhakti, Mam Abhijanati, a person comes to know God clearly and completely. Until now, God is a matter of Shraddha, but I have no idea who God is, what God is. People say he is in Brahmaloka, in Vrindavana, in Kailasha, Vrindavanam, etc. Right? Hare Krishna people say he's in Vrindavanam. Right? Each one says a particular loka. Now the Jnana Yogi Abhijanati clearly knows who and what God is. Yahacha Yavan Asmi, who and how much I am. Tatvatah, in reality he knows, right? Rama, Krishna, etc. are temporary bodies taken by the Lord with the help of Maya Shakti, who has a definite date of birth, Janmashtami, Ramanavami, etc. Right? So, and this is a limited form of God, because God is actually all pervading, but we have limited in the form of Rama and Krishna. So ultimately, I should know Bhagavan is all pervading and Sachidananda Swarupaha. Yaha aham asmi tatvatah. In reality, Bhagavan is Sachidananda, formless, locationless principle. The very same Bhagavan has got a Shakti called Maya Shakti, and with that Maya Shakti alone, Bhagavan appears in the form of the material universe also. So if you remember the 7th chapter, matter is the Maya form of the Lord, consciousness is the spiritual form of the Lord. So consciousness is the spiritual form, matter is the changing form, right? So all other things that we experience in this world which are material are apara prakriti, and consciousness is para prakriti. So sarvam ishwaramayam jagat. So vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma durlabha. It's the 7th chapter expression. Therefore Krishna says jnani recognizes that, right? To put in very simple language, that is whatever I experience is Maya form of God. I the experiencer is Brahman form of God. I the experiencer am para prakriti. Whatever I experience is apara prakriti. Therefore Krishna says tato mam tatvato nyatva. After knowing God in reality, both in his para and apara prakriti nature, tadanantaram, instantaneously, vishate, that jnani becomes one with the God, because he claims his own body to be apara prakriti and he claims his own consciousness to be para prakriti, right? So these are all the results of nididhyasanam, and I have to soak in this knowledge. Then whatever I experience is God and God alone, right? Okay, so we will, I think, stop here and do this verse 56 in the next class, that is on next Saturday, 6:25. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now Vyoma has requested me to actually conduct an assessment. It's an optional assessment, and they would like to issue certificates of completing this very long journey, 3 years almost, and maybe by the time I complete it will be 145 classes. So they would like me to conduct an assessment. It's purely optional, right? And if you complete the assessment, they will give you a certificate. Vyoma is pleased to offer you that. So after we complete 2 weeks of time to maybe go through the summary sessions, etc. And on 13th June, Sunday at 6:30 p.m., we will have this assessment. So it will be a Google form based test, maybe for 50 marks. It will be multiple choice or option based exam paper. And if you have kind of assimilated this, it should be quite easy, right? And for those of you who regularly catch up through YouTube videos, because I see that almost 150 people catch up on YouTube videos, just make sure that you are there in person for this session live, because the Google test will be open during this time, and after that we will be closing it. So I'm going to be announcing this every week so that you are prepared for coming on 13 June. We'll also send out mails to everybody. Let me see if there are any questions. Yeah. So, I don't know where the questions went. I did see that there was a question on, yeah. Should Nirvana Shatkam be chanted every day? Nirvana Shatkam is for, chanting is for getting by heart and then getting to know the meanings. What is required in Nididhyasanam is to dwell on the meaning and claim, right? When you say Mano Buddhya Hankara Chittani Naham, Aham na, right? I am not the mind. I am not the chitta, I am not the memory. I am not all this. It says there is no guru, there is no shishya, there is no pita, there is no mata, there are no relatives, etc. So you're slowly withdrawing from the external world in that meditation. So the important aspect is chanting is for getting by heart, but to understand the meaning and to dwell in that meaning, that is important. Okay? So I hope I clarified this. Yeah, verse 55 is heavy Ishvara Aikyam. Yes, that's true. Jiva Ishvara Aikyam. Yes, because we are consolidating here, and you will see Krishna is actually flowing freely across all the chapters. Okay, there's somebody who wants to ask a question. You're self-muted. You can. Venkateshwaran Gopala.
Yes, madam. Kindly discuss about the format of the exam, this thing, paper.
Okay, we are just going to have options, and you just pick the option. That's all. So it's not going to be written in long, papers. It's just be one question, and then there will be 4 options or 5 options, and say pick the odd one out or pick the correct answer.
It will be a 2-hour paper.
One hour maybe. I think I'll have 50 questions. So if you take 1 minute per question, it will be 50 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else has any other question? Okay. So the next class will be on 15 Saturday at 6:25. Okay. Harihi Om. Dhanyavada.